People don't know, but the lenders are constantly watching this content the way you are, the way I am, and the way everybody is. Conversations I'm having with relationship managers when the banks are watching this content is like, okay, because we know that this is the misinformation that's getting put out there, we have to move the goalpost because
I don't think people understand how many people you've seen, get approved, for funding. Can you give us a scenario where you probably knew someone's situation? Let's say, for example, because I'm going to go into something common that a lot of people tend to have questions on. If they have a one-day-old LLC, a brand new LLC, what have you seen be able to be accomplished in a situation where they were able to get funding and the LLC was fresh? Is it still possible to get some type of funding for that, even though it's brand new?
Yeah, that's a great question. So now we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty of like, okay, we understand these are all the factors that allow for us to get approved, but of these factors, which factors weigh a little bit heavily more than others, right? Is personal credit more important than LLC age? Is the age of the LLC more important than the relationship? So to answer your question specifically and then kind of expand from there, does the age of your LLC matter? Yes, it can. However, from my experience in working with business owners from all across the country in all different industries, it doesn't weigh as heavily as some of the other factors that I talked about. So from the conversations that I've had with relationship managers from all across the country, a lender is more likely to approve somebody with a brand new LLC, but let's say their credit report is strong and well-aged. Let's say the business that is new is properly structured and the relationship that they have with that bank is seasoned as well. That person is more likely to get approved for larger amounts of capital versus somebody, let's say you have a 10-year-old LLC, but your personal credit report isn't structured. You're really not going to move that much. Let's say you have a 10-year-old LLC, but the relationship that you have with that bank isn't as seasoned or as strong as you would like for it to be. So you've had the LLC for 10 years, but you've only been in a relationship with that bank for a month and some change. Probably not going to get that much. Or once again, let's say you have a 10-year-old LLC, but the structure of it isn't all the way there to where it looks attractive and the risk factor that's associated with that business is low. Probably not going to get as much. So what I would tell individuals, because I know that is one of the more common things, and that kind of shifts into the conversation of people who look into things like shelf corps and beyond. Does LLC age matter? Yes, to an extent. But when I'm coaching and counseling individuals, I wouldn't hyper focus as much about the LLC age. I would more so hyper focus on, of the three that I mentioned before, I think relationship is probably the biggest one. Just for the simple fact that in this day and age of what's happening right now within the funding and funding landscape, you kind of talked about it earlier about like how things have changed. We gotta have to take a bit of a step back, right? Once again, to take a step forward. Yeah. A big reason why a lot of the changes have happened right now is because there's so much misinformation that's been put out on social media in terms of telling individuals, hey, these are the banks you need to go to. These are the people that's going to approve you even if you have bad credit. And what's happened as a result of it is you have a lot of individuals who are either applying for banks that they had no business applying to for credit for, right? Or you have individuals that aren't properly positioning themselves that are applying for credit and then afterwards defaulting on the credit that they get, or just straight up getting denied altogether. People don't know, but the lenders are constantly watching this content the way you are, the way I am, and the way everybody is. Yeah. And the conversations I'm having with relationship managers when the banks are watching this content is like, okay, because we know that this is the misinformation that's getting put out there, we have to move the goalpost because yes, we want to lend money, but we want to make sure that we protect our bottom line above any and all else. So as a result, the reason why now, we talked about LLC, but relationship is so important is because now when you're showing a bank that you're in, not for a short time and a good time, but for the long haul, and that you've made those consistent deposits over time, along with everything else, that from what I've experienced is really the biggest chances of getting approval, but also starting to rub shoulders with different relations that work within that lender that also play a role in the kind of approvals that you're getting access to. So when we talk about LLC age, once again, is it important? Yes, but I wouldn't hyper focus on that as much as some of the other factors that we've talked about.
Absolutely.